Interstate 35, from Wikipedia, the free encyclopedia, at en.wikipedia.org. Interstate 35, I-35, is a north-south interstate highway in the central United States. I-35 stretches from Laredo, Texas on the U.S.-Mexico border to Duluth, Minnesota at Minnesota Highway 61, London Road, and 26th Avenue East. Many interstates used to have splits or spurs indicated with suffix letters like N, S, E, or W, but I-35 is the only one that still has such diversions. In two stretches, both through Twin Cities, the highway splits into Interstate 35E, Dallas and St. Paul, and Interstate 35W, Fort Worth and Minneapolis. Interstate 35 does not directly connect to either international border. I-35's southern terminus is a traffic signal in Laredo, Texas, just short of the United States-Mexico border. Travelers going south can take one of two toll bridges across the Rio Grande and the Mexican border, straight ahead into Juarez-Lincoln International Bridge, or via Interstate 35 Business through downtown Laredo into Gateway to the Americas International Bridge. To the north, Interstate 35 terminates in Duluth, Minnesota, with connections to Canada from the interstate's terminus via Minnesota Highway 61 to Grand Portage, or north to the border at International Falls by U.S. Route 53 in Duluth, but that route is more typically accessed from the south by Minnesota Highway 33 at Cloquet. Contents: Section 1. Route Description. 1.1. Texas. 1.2. Oklahoma. 1.3. Kansas. 1.4. Missouri. 1.5. Iowa. 1.6. Minnesota. Section 2. History. Section 3. Future. 3.1. NAFTA Superhighway. Section 4. Major intersections. Section 5. Auxiliary routes. Section 1. Route Description. Information Table. Total interstate length per state. Texas, 505 miles, 813 kilometers. Oklahoma, 235 miles, 378 kilometers. Kansas, 234 miles, 377 kilometers. Missouri, 114 miles, 183 kilometers. Iowa, 218 miles, 351 kilometers. Minnesota, 259 miles, 416 kilometers. Totals: 1,565 miles, 2,518 kilometers. Section 1.1. Texas. Interstate 35 northbound begins at an intersection controlled by a stoplight with Business Spur I-35 in Laredo, Texas, just north of the Rio Grande. Through Webb, LaSalle, and Frio counties, it has a mostly north-northeastern course turning more northeast around Moore. It then cuts across the borders of Medina and Atacama counties before entering Bexar County in San Antonio. Interstate 35 is named the Pan Am Expressway in San Antonio. There, it has brief concurrences with both Interstate 10 and Interstate 410, and serves as the northern terminus of Interstate 37. I-35 heads northward out of the city towards the state capital, Austin. In Austin, Interstate 35 is the interregional highway. Throughout Austin, elevated express lanes were constructed on either side of the original freeway. Prior to this expansion, the sections included an at-grade railroad crossing, which is extremely unusual for a freeway. From Austin, I-35 goes through Round Rock, Temple, and Waco. In Waco, I-35 is a Jack Colchin freeway. I-35 then heads to Hillsboro, where it splits up into I-35W and I-35E and runs through the Dallas-Fort Worth area. The official mile markers follow I-35E through Dallas. I-35W, which is 85 miles, 137 kilometers in length, carries its own mileage from Hillsboro to Denton, as though it were an X-35 loop. In Dallas, I-35 is the R.L. Thornton Freeway, south of I-30, which picks up the name heading east. North of I-30, it is the Stemmons Freeway. After passing through Dallas-Fort Worth, I-35's two forks merge in Denton. The unified interstate then continues north to Gainesville before crossing the Red River into Oklahoma. Section 1.2. Oklahoma. In Oklahoma, I-35 runs from the Red River at the Texas border to the Kansas line near Brahman, passing through many of the state's major cities, including Ardmore and the cities of the Oklahoma City metropolitan area, such as Norman, Guthrie, Edmond, and the state capital and largest city, Oklahoma City. In downtown Oklahoma City, I-35 has a major junction with I-40 and spurs into I-235 through the north-central inner city. Section 1.3, Kansas. Between the Oklahoma state line and Emporia, I-35 is part of the Kansas Turnpike. This section of interstate serves Wichita and passes through the Flint Hills area. At Emporia, I-35 branches off on its own alignment. This free section of I-35 provides access to Ottawa before entering the Kansas City metropolitan area, where it serves Johnson County and Kansas City, Kansas. Section 1.4, Missouri. In Missouri, I-35 runs north-northeast from Kansas City towards Des Moines, Iowa. It parallels US 69. I-35 enters Missouri 2 miles, 3 kilometers, southwest of Kansas City's Central Business District as a 6-lane highway. After merging with Southwest Traffic Way and Broadway, it becomes 8 lanes and continues north to downtown Kansas City, where it serves as the west and north legs of the downtown freeway loop. Along the north edge of the loop, I-35 joins with I-70 immediately west of Broadway and carries 6 lanes of traffic with a speed limit of 45 miles per hour, 72 kilometers per hour. Upon leaving the loop, Interstate 29 begins, concurrent with I-35. The two interstates cross the Missouri River together on the Paseo Bridge. After crossing the river, I-29 and I-35 split. I-35 heads north to Cameron, Missouri, and then continues northward to the Iowa state line. Section 1.5, Iowa. I-35 is part of the Avenue of the Saints between Clear Lake and St. Paul, Minnesota. A 4-lane link has been completed between Clear Lake and Interstate 380 in Waterloo, Iowa. In the northern sections of the state, I-35 is parallel to US Route 69 for much of its course. In Des Moines, I-35 has a 12-mile, 19-kilometer overlap with Interstate 80. The concurrency takes place northwest of the downtown district of the city. At exit 127 of I-80, the overlap turns east and terminates at exit 137 via an interchange with Interstate 235. North of Des Moines, I-35 is mainly parallel with US 69, traversing a vast and rural area of Iowa. Section 1.6, Minnesota. All of I-35 in the state of Minnesota from the Iowa state line to the city of Duluth is officially designated the Red Bull Highway after the 34th Infantry Red Bull Division. At Medford, Minnesota, the on- and off-ramps lead to roundabouts rather than standard cross intersections. This is the first site in the state linked to a major highway to use roundabouts. I-35 splits again into I-35W and I-35E in the Minneapolis-St. Paul, Minnesota area. The mile and exit numbering sequence continues along I-35E. At one sharp turn in I-35W near the junction with I-94, it is advised to slow to 35 miles per hour, 55 kilometers per hour, although many drivers are able to maintain the speed limit of 55 miles per hour, 90 kilometers per hour. Additionally, it is not possible to go from westbound I-94 to northbound I-35W, from southbound I-35 west to eastbound I-94, from eastbound I-94 to southbound I-35E, and from northbound I-35E to westbound I-94 without resorting to surface streets. On I-35E in Minnesota between Minnesota Highway 5 and Interstate 94 in both directions, trucks weighing more than 9,000 pounds or 4,082 kilograms are banned from the freeway, and the speed limit drops to 45 miles per hour, 70 kilometers per hour, but is rarely obeyed. This section was not completed until the late 1980s, although the route was cleared and graded earlier due to opposition from the historic Crocus Hill neighborhood, which sits only a few hundred feet from the alignment. The 4-lane alignment Parkway designation was a compromise. The truck bypass for this section is signed on I-494 and I-694 to the east of St. Paul. I-35 has an interchange with I-535 and US 53 in Duluth, Minnesota, known locally as the Can of Worms. This junction features a pair of left exits from I-35, a stoplight, and lane drops over the I-35 bridge. The national northern terminus of I-35 is at an intersection in eastern Duluth. Driver's options include merging with London Road, Minnesota Highway 61 northbound, proceeding through the stoplights onto 26th Avenue East, or turning left onto London Road southbound. Section 2. History. Some sections of I-35 in Oklahoma City were already built in 1953 before the interstate system was created. Through Norman, Oklahoma, the interstate opened in June of 1959. In Moore, it opened in 2 parts. The northern half, connecting Moore to Oklahoma City, opened in January 1960. The southern half, linking it to Norman, was opened to traffic in June 1967. I-35 through Oklahoma largely parallels US Route 77. This is in large part due to the efforts of the towns of Wynwood, Paoli, and Wayne, which fought to keep I-35 as close as possible to US 77. This was successful due to a threat from Governor Henry Bellman to build a toll road rather than I-35, and legislation preventing state funds for the interstate from being spent if it were more than 1 mile (1.6 kilometers) from the U.S. route. I-35 was completed in Oklahoma in 1971 when parts of the interstate running through Carter County and Murray County were open to traffic. The final segment of I-35 in the original plan to open was in north-central Iowa between Mason City and US 20 near Iowa Falls. This segment was delayed due to some controversy. Originally, I-35 was to follow the alignment of US 69 from Des Moines all the way to the Minnesota border. However, Mason City's business community lobbied for the route to be moved closer to their city. On September 1, 1965, the alignment was changed to instead parallel US 65 through northern Iowa, which brought the highway much closer to Mason City. This, however, created a long diagonal section through Wright and Franklin counties. Local farmers objected to their farms being bisected into triangular pieces, and resulting litigation delayed I-35 for several years. A November 1972 ruling rejected a lawsuit filed by the farmers, and the final segment of I-35 was allowed to proceed, eventually opening in 1975. One of the final pieces of the highway puzzle happened in Faribault, Minnesota. For approximately 25 years, Highway 35 actually went through the town, and travelers had to deal with several traffic lights. In 1975, the highway went around Faribault, where today a traveler actually has 3 exit choices for this southern Minnesota town. Section 3. Future. On September 1, 2005, MoDOT reopened the Paseo Bridge over the Missouri River in Kansas City, Missouri, after completing a 6-month rehabilitation project ahead of schedule. However, the rehab project is only a short-term fix. MoDOT is in the planning process of devising a 6 to 8-lane crossing for the interstate, either by building a duplicate bridge to house one direction of traffic or a new bridge or bridges. The $245 million project includes $50 million in funding procured by Senator Kit Bond in the 2005 transportation bill. Project plans include significant updates to sections of the freeway and nearby interchanges beyond the bridge itself. Section 3.1 NAFTA Superhighway. The proposed Trans-Texas Corridor Toll Project includes one proposal, TTC-35, to primarily parallel I-35 from the Mexico border up to the Oklahoma border. There are major disagreements as to what impact this parallel route would have on I-35 in terms of traffic, maintenance, and commerce. The Trans-Texas Corridor was first proposed by Texas Governor Rick Perry in 2002. It consists of a 1,200-foot, 366-meter wide highway that also carries utilities such as electricity, petroleum, and water, as well as railway traffic and fiber optic cables. In July 2007, U.S. Representative Duncan Hunter successfully offered an amendment to the House Resolution 3074, the FY 2008 Transportation Appropriations Act, prohibiting the use of federal funds for Department of Transportation participation in the activities of the Security and Prosperity Partnership of North America, or SPP. Hunter stated that, quote, "Unfortunately, very little is known about the NAFTA superhighway. This amendment will provide Congress the opportunity to exercise oversight of the highway, which remains a subject of question and uncertainty, and ensure that our safety and security will not be compromised in order to promote the business interests of our neighbors." Fellow Republican Congressman and presidential candidate Ron Paul brought the issue to mainstream prominence during the December 2007 CNN YouTube GOP debate, where he rejected the concept and also called it the NAFTA superhighway after the North American Free Trade Agreement and, like Hunter, framed it within the ultimate goal of creating a North American Union. Section 4. List of major intersections. Interstate 410 in San Antonio, Texas, twice. Interstate 10 in San Antonio. Interstate 37 in San Antonio. Interstate 35 splits into I-35E and I-35W in Hillsboro, Texas. Interstate 20 in Texas, I-35E, and Fort Worth, Texas, I-35W. Interstate 30 in Dallas, I-35E, and in Fort Worth, I-35W. Interstate 820 in Fort Worth, I-35W only. Interstate 635 in Dallas, I-35E only. I-35E and I-35W rejoin in Denton, Texas. Interstate 240 in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Interstate 235 in Oklahoma City. Interstate 40 in Oklahoma City, concurrent with I-35 for 2 miles, 3 kilometers. Interstate 44 in Oklahoma City, concurrent with I-35 for 5 miles, 8 kilometers. Interstate 135 and Interstate 235 in Wichita, Kansas. The Kansas Turnpike continues along I-35 east of Wichita, while I-135 passes through downtown Wichita. Interstate 335 in Emporia, Kansas. I-35 splits from the Kansas Turnpike at this point, and I-335 picks up the Kansas Turnpike designation. Interstate 435 in Lenexa, Kansas. Interstate 635 in Kansas City, Kansas. Interstate 670 in Kansas City, Missouri. Interstate 70 in Kansas City, Missouri, concurrent with I-35 between exits 2A and 2H. Interstate 29 in Kansas City, Missouri, concurrent with I-35 for 6 miles, 10 kilometers. Interstate 435 in Kansas City, Missouri. Interstate 80 in Des Moines, Iowa. I-80 is co-signed with I-35 bypassing downtown Des Moines, served by I-235 for 13 miles, 21 kilometers. Interstate 235 in Des Moines, Iowa, twice. Interstate 90 in Albert Lea, Minnesota. Interstate 35 splits into I-35E and I-35W again in Burnsville, Minnesota. Interstate 494 in Bloomington, I-35W, and Eagan, Minnesota. Interstate 94 in Minneapolis, I-35W, and in St. Paul, Minnesota, I-35E, concurrent with I-94 for less than half a mile. Interstate 694 in New Brighton, I-35W, and Little Canada, Minnesota, Vadnais Heights, Minnesota, I-35E concurrent with I-694 for less than half a mile. I-35E and I-35W rejoin in Columbus, Minnesota. Interstate 535 in Duluth, Minnesota. Section 5. List of auxiliary routes of Interstate 35. Texas, Interstate 635. Oklahoma, Interstate 235. Kansas, Interstate 135, 235, and 335. Kansas, Missouri, Interstate 435 and 635. Iowa, Interstate 235. Minnesota, Interstate 335. Minnesota, Wisconsin, Interstate 535. This sound file and all text in the article are licensed under the Creative Commons Attribution Share-alike 3.0 Unported License, available at creativecommons.org/licenses/by-sa/3.0.